Today's video is about optimizing cold water immersion training for muscle strengthening, performance, and recovery. There are many burnt out, overstressed people, and I don't want you to be one of them. My name is Matt Soule, and I want to show you how you can learn to leverage the key pathways of stress to propel you toward your best life. Cold training studies with regard to improvements in human strength, mitochondrial biogenesis, stable muscle glycogen resynthesis rates, even with reduced blood flow, and enhanced gene expression, have demonstrated the wide potential offered by cold training. Furthermore, additional studies with animals have shown oxidative stress improvements, as well as improvements with edema and inflammatory responses. That's all great for wanting to use cold training for its vast benefits, but that is not the whole story. There are many studies showing mixed or even negative results, especially those specifically regarding muscle strength limitations, hypertrophy limitations, endurance limitations, and delayed recovery times associated with cold training. How can such discrepancies exist? Well, if I had to boil things down to one sentence, it would be this: the timing and the temperature make all the difference. Let's break down the common thought and practice using cold therapy that's been around in the sports and performance world for 50 plus years. Athletes, how many of you were told to get into the ice bath or pack ice on you directly after training? I, for one, and the many others I trained over the years, were perpetually told by our trainers to do this. The idea was that by blunting inflammation and soreness, we'd be back on the field or court or mat sooner and stronger. But many recent studies demonstrate how limited that idea is, showing issues with gains using post-exercise cold training protocols. I'm going to link an excellent review that has many studies that point to this for those that want to take a dive into the research and literature. But I caught on to this several years ago and began investigating and experimenting with different routines after I came to really understand cold training and inflammation. I wrote much of this up in my book on mastering the stress response, where I do a deep dive into what I refer to as the freeze tool, a fundamental stress tool entirely focused on cold training. See, when I started using cold training practices, I specifically started doing it to help address significant martial arts injuries that had sent my body into a downward spiral after a competition. And in fact, the cold, combined with specific breathing exercises, lifted me out of that spiral when nothing else had worked. And I tried everything I could because I hated the cold at the time. Well, that is until I learned how to use it. And for the last 8 years, it has been one of the most essential tools in my kit. I can't speak to everybody's personal protocols, but I can definitely speak to my own and those that have trained over the years. And there are two critical features I would like to highlight if you want optimization in your utilizing cold for strength and recovery. One, you want to make sure to wait at least 4 hours after doing a workout. This recommendation was recently highlighted by Dr. Andrew Huberman of Stanford University. When I wrote my book, I noted a similar time delay was necessary. I didn't quantify it quite so specifically because I couldn't find the research to support the exact timing when I published the recommendations. So instead, I wrote this. This is a quote from my book here. When cold should be applied is also a question, and the research here is not so clear. I could not find consistencies to support one timing method over another. In my personal experience, however, it is best to do your cold training separately from your workouts. At minimum, give yourself a couple of hours after exercising before any cold immersion. The reason I advise this is to harness the benefits of your body's natural inflammatory processes, which triggers with workouts. The inflammation recruits blood and nutrients to begin beneficial repair of your tissues. And that takes time. Let that process work for you. Then, after a few hours, do some cold training to get the cold benefits. Experiment with the timing of what works best for you. See, because much of my training and teaching occurred in the afternoons and evenings, I would do my cold training in the mornings, many hours after the training sessions had ended. This allowed me to start the day fresh, recover from the previous night's activities, elevate my energy and mood, and then go to the gym strong and focused. So, you see, I started by stumbling onto this beneficial timing. However, over many years of this practice and doing as much diligent research as I could, I've continued to experiment and found a dialed-in protocol. I like to use science as a guide and a guardrail, not a gospel. In other words, let science intelligently point the way. In many of the studies I have reviewed with an eye to performance, I've noticed that lower temperatures, meaning less than approximately 44 degrees Fahrenheit, tend to correlate with far more positive outcomes. Unfortunately, there are few that actually use those temperatures. For whatever reasons, most of the scientific studies test cold water immersion immediately after exercise and use temperatures of approximately 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Bottom line, those temperatures and the timing of use in those studies just don't add up to positive experiences, at least in my case and those that I've trained over the years. As both a teacher and a practitioner, we're looking to derive the best gains, and that requires optimization. So what are the best temperatures, and at what point in the training regimen is more likely to produce beneficial results? First, unless you want to spend a significant time in cold water, get your temperatures below approximately 45 degrees. I personally set my converted chest freezer to temperatures around 35 to 40. Next, experiment with timing. What I and many others that I train have adopted is doing your cold water immersion training first thing in the morning. And my routine that follows is I usually do my strength training right after. This takes advantage of multiple factors. One, the physical benefits. I give myself a boost of energy through adrenaline, a burst of dopamine, which helps me with motivation, and it also helps me in the gym throughout the rest of the day's activities. I capitalize on my naturally elevated testosterone levels, which happen on their own in the morning, and further boost them through both the cold practice and the strength training regimen. 2, the emotional benefits. Cold training contributes to positive mood and well-being. 3, the mental benefits. Grit, peace, and mental toughness are gained by the freeze tool. And overcoming the first challenge of the day translates to perseverance as I encounter obstacles, big and small, throughout the rest of my day. Guys, this is what harnessing the body's natural chemistry using behavioral health interventions looks like. Simple recap: lower temperatures. Get the tub or your water below 45 degrees. In my experience, this produces consistently better results for strength, endurance, and recovery times, especially when paired with shorter sessions of multiple reps that range from 2 minutes to totaling no more than 10 to 20 minutes per session. Now, Dr. Soderbergh recently gave an interview on Dr. Huberman's podcast suggesting that 11 minutes of cold training per week was the minimal effective dose. That tells me that 11 minutes per week is the guide, and the art of optimization is up to you and me. Still have questions, guys? Check out my other video on training frequency and intensity that covers the exact way to know for you if your cold training practice is optimized. If you like this video and you want more content, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button right now and subscribe. That'll encourage me to make more videos for you. Until next time, I wish you all the best and stay chill.